Actually, continuing on that idea, I should sort of state of myself, so like I have been either compelled or indoctrinated with a number of scientific theories based on a belief. In theory, it's a belief in the scientific method, right? But the scientific method is a fundamentally humanist method, right? It's a humanist point of view, which kind of, in my mind, this is how I understand it. So I'm not talking about like I'm talking about it as though I understand like the depth of all these different ideas, or like the historical lens through which they're taught, right? But in my idea, it's very humanist, because what you're saying is that if you think, first of all, if you have an idea, it's a human idea. If you have an idea, and then you consider some things that could disprove that idea, that you have your hypothesis, you come up with your methods in order to disprove your idea. If you attempt to disprove your idea, I'm trying to think, it's not like, yeah, like it's not the positivist. If you try to disprove your idea with all these different methods, you can't disprove it. Then you have results, and you can draw conclusions from them. And the conclusions from the results is a matter of obviously interpretation. But here's where, like, but it functions on the idea of like argumentation. So like I guess the scientific method is kind of based in the same ideas that I presented on kind of on Christianity and like other structured religions, that these ideas have become so compelling for people because they have been refined iteratively by passionate minds who subscribe to the same basis same basis. So we're all going to approach these ideas critically from the get-go. And if we approach these ideas critically, skeptically, and if we're really trying to not adhere to a single idea, but to find the truth regardless of what that truth actually is, and obviously there's kind of like a question of, well, like, how far can a human being go, or like any group of human beings go, in kind of how far can a group of human beings go in terms of stepping outside of their own bias? And so like there's another idea that like the rigor of this debate, it's like after you've gotten, it's not just the methods, it's the discussion of the results. So in terms of interpretation of the results, in terms of your methods of I guess verification in the positive sense, but attempting to disprove in the negative sense. The rigor comes from the idea that there's such a diversity of human perspective that diversity will always breed sufficient contradiction and that those contradictions, through honest debate where everybody's seeking the truth, will yield a more refined truth, and that this can be done ad infinitum, like endlessly. So this is kind of like, that's what I subscribe to that idea, and actually that kind of that kind of frames my whole interpretation of religion. Because basically I'm like, well, it's been disproven because basically there's sufficient theories that contradict the basic premise or contradict certain elements of the theories of religion, and what seems to support the faith is an emotion-driven it's a desire to believe in certain things because these beliefs serve us in some way. Now, one thing that's interesting to think about, in my opinion, is that no matter what the belief is, whether or not it's truer or more false, every idea or not every idea, but many ideas, whether true or false, can have a benefit. There's a benefit to believing in certain ideas, or I guess maybe actually more broadly speaking, once my brain is structured around a certain set of beliefs, it benefits me to continue to adhere to those beliefs and to reinforce those beliefs because it's more work start from scratch, essentially. It's more work to start from scratch. But also, you become used to the benefits and costs, I guess, maybe on a deeper level. You become acclimated to the benefits and costs of a belief system. So one of the costs of being agnostic that there is, like I said, no overarching meaning. There aren't overarching things. Life doesn't adhere, there is no theme that life adheres to. There is no end game. And furthermore, there is no justice. There is no final justice. Everything is human created. And so then, the whole agnostic, the whole science thing is that everything is arising from humans. It's from the bottom up, not from the top down. And so you stop. First of all, humans become the ideal thing. Humans become the ideal thing. And mentally, I think what you have to do is you have to sort of become okay with the fact that, I think it's difficult it was difficult as a kid, because it was more difficult for me to believe, but it was also difficult because I believed that I should believe, and that there should be some kind of overarching theme to everything. There should be kind of some central idea that guides my life. And I think the brain's also kind of maybe, what even happened for me, I guess, is part of the question too. What happened to me? What happened to me in particular? Because that's the only thing that I can really speak to. Yeah, because something about like agnostics and atheists in particular is that they like to believe that they don't really believe in anything. And obviously, we don't believe in God. I don't believe in a God. And you also kind of, without a God, there is no, there can be like a one truth. There can be like one truth about like, a person can have like a central tenet of morality. But I think the thing about God is that God as a premise provides kind of like an umbrella or anchorage for so many things. Like you can have laws that are kind of arbitrary and they'd all be justified under God. You could have like a government that's completely serendipitous, like just chance. I shouldn't say serendipitous, it's just complete chance. How it came together. But then what I notice is like when people believe in God, they'll say like, oh, these things have a purpose in the grand scheme of things, somehow, right? All things work together for good. That's one big thing people like to say. But there's just like a cohesiveness to everything. And I think that kind of means that you can be, I think that gives you like more tools to be critical, because then you can say, well, if it's not working together with the overall idea, then you naturally want to bring it back. You want to kind of like, you want to fold everything into this belief system. So it's like you're doing some critical thinking, but you're doing critical thinking because something doesn't fit into your larger idea. Is Madison? This is Madison. And so like that's the metric by which you judge, by which you kind of exhibit critical behavior. That's like your critical lens. Yeah, like, I mean, for as much shit as people give Christians for being like, you know, like your belief system isn't critically sound, it isn't rigorous. Christianity, I mean, obviously Greeks did it, but like Christianity perpetuated, at least perpetuated a culture of like hyper rigorous, like, I don't know, it's ontological examination. You know, like what the Greeks started, the Christians kind of perfected.